Not everyone needs a financial advisor later in life, and some people definitely don't need a financial advisor when they're getting started. But there's so many young people, Dwight, as you know, that need the tools to get started, and they don't have the confidence to ask the questions because they feel like they're possibly going to ask a stupid question, which we know there's not a stupid question.
Welcome to Give a Heck. I am your host, Dwight Heck, and for much of my life, lived my life in quiet desperation, wondering how I was going to pay the bills, take vacations, save for retirement, and one day wondering if I would get off the hamster wheel of life and have purpose. A life that most of society lives, which takes us to work, then home, then repeat, and pays us hopefully enough just to survive. The harsh truth that most live with more months than money and have no idea how to live life on purpose, not by accident. This ensures the mass majority are living not just financially broke, however emotionally and mentally as well due to financial pressures. In each episode, I will introduce you to thoughts, ideas, and guests that can help you to learn how you too can live life on purpose, not by accident.
Welcome back to the Give a Heck podcast, where we encourage you to live a life on purpose and not by accident. I'm your host, Dwight Heck. Today's guests are a second appearance at the Give a Heck podcast, and I'm so honored that they're giving me more time. And the reason I say that is we had such a fantastic conversation the first go around. It was like we had known each other forever. It was like they were picking thoughts out of my brain. It was absolutely amazing how concise and how realistic their thoughts and processes are to what mine are. And I'm thinking, wow, we live in two different countries, but we think at the same level of helping and serving others. And that's what our whole lives have been. Is there different congruences and different abnormalities? Absolutely. But overall, these gentlemen are amazing. So if you haven't listened to the first episode, please dial it back to listen to Steve and Mark and myself discuss their Simple Road Toward Financial Freedom book and so many other great things that we talked about. I will read a little bit of a bio about both gentlemen for those that are just listening now and want to listen to this episode first, and we'll go on from there. It's going to be a very short episode just to fill in some gaps that I believe we missed in the first episode. But honestly, Mark and Steve, maybe you disagree, but I think we could probably have a series of episodes and never run out of content to talk about.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to read this little bio. Today's guests are Steve Short and Mark Schlipman, co-authors of the #1 Amazon bestseller, The Simple Road Toward Financial Freedom, with a foreword by Will Ferrell. Steve is a retired business executive who spent nearly 30 years leading billion-dollar divisions, and Mark is a financial advisor with over 2 decades of experience helping clients build wealth. Together, they've made it their mission to help the next generation avoid the financial mistakes they've seen and made by simplifying money management into approachable, jargon-free lessons. Their passion project was born out of frustration that their own kids, like so many others, were entering adulthood with little financial literacy. Beyond the book, they give back by supporting Cancer for College, a nonprofit providing scholarships to cancer survivors. Their message is clear. Financial freedom is possible, and it starts with simple, consistent steps. Welcome back, Steve and Mark. Thanks so much for agreeing to give me a little bit more of your time so we can dive more in depth into your book and whatever else comes up in our great conversations.
Dwight, good to be back. I appreciate it very much.
We gave such a heck that we're back again.
Right on.
Thanks, Dwight.
It's like a boomerang effect, eh?
It is.
That's what I am. You're coming back for more pleasure, torture, a bit of both.
No more. I was mentioning, or before we started recording, it just seemed like the first podcast we were so in alignment in terms of like the things that we were saying, the thoughts that we had, that it was great conversation. So excited to be back.
Isn't life better when we have great conversations?
Yeah.
You can have constructive, good conversations, and they're meaningful, not meaningless.
The one thing I was going to ask you, Dwight, that I didn't get a chance to last time was,
Sure.
Obviously we deal with successful people and we deal with people that have financial struggles. So when somebody comes to you with just overwhelmed with finances or struggling with finances, what are two or three things that you immediately gravitate towards in trying to walk them through the process?
Well, depends what part of the process you're talking about. And now, if it's information gathering and it's goal setting, it's budgeting, if I see that they're mentally between their 6 inches between their ears are
Mhm.
struggling, it goes back to, I think, what we talked about, is the origin. I just sit down. Sometimes it can even, I've had people break down and I'll just, you gotta gauge it though. Sometimes
Mhm.
people you can't touch them, but sometimes you can put your arm around them if it's face to face or if it's on a virtual call, which has become more and more prevalent within my practice because it collapses time frames for the client and myself. I really make sure I watch my physical, my body language,
Yeah.
my tonality, and make sure, and I've practiced with my empathy. And why do I say that? Because I realized over the years that I'm an empath, and that was because of a lady I had on twice now that's an empath coach. And she's taught me things that help me pull out that information from people. Because at the end of the day, those listening or watching, people don't care what you know until they know that you care.
Yeah.
When people know you care, now that information gathering, those steps you talk about, Mark, are easier to get from them, right? It's easier for them to share and be vulnerable because maybe they've been dejected by somebody. Maybe somebody's tried to help them. Maybe a family friend or somebody's made fun of them. I don't know if you've experienced that yourself,
Sure.
Mark, or even Steve yourself. Like people that are so tired of number crunching and being promised the moon, but no substance to that relationship or the data that we're sharing with them, right? They
Right.
just feel like another number. And I want
Yeah.
people to know that I care about them, right? That I give
Mhm.
a heck. And it may sound corny, but that's the way my dad raised me in with his farm equipment dealership in a small community at the time of 12,000 people. Every farmer that came in was number one, front and center in front of him. That
Mhm.
conversation was always, they were the most important person, not the other person walking around, or people would interrupt him and he'd go, just hold off for a second. He was very polite about it. This person's who I'm dealing with right now. Unless it's a 911 situation, relationships matter.
Yeah.
And I could never understood that until I got older, you guys. Until I got older and looked back at my dad's life and realized, man, he was the biggest dealership in Canada for many years and the biggest in Western Canada. He'd have people coming from hours away to deal with him.
Wow.
Relationships. It had
Yeah.
nothing to do with the fact he had the best prices or the worst prices or the he was just friendly, right?
Mhm.
One of 18 kids. Can you imagine?
Mm.
Can you imagine
Where'd
being one
he
of 18 and
where'd he
being
where'd he
stuck?
where'd he fall in line of the 18?
He was boat number, I think he was number 10. I can't remember now. I think it was
Okay.
number 10. Number
Close to the
10.
middle. Close to the
Yeah.
middle.
Yeah,
Middle of the
close,
pack.
close to the middle, and out of those 18 kids, there's still 10 surviving. So, there's the oldest is in his the oldest out of all of them passed away a few years ago, my Uncle Frank. But when I talk to them, they're all cantankerous. They got that old, that way of thinking and that adage, but they taught me, and when I look back at my core values that I really filter my business and personal life through it. I'm the same person outside the door as I am right here. Faith, family, and work, they lived it. Their
Mhm.
faith, they lived their family, and work was always important, but you get together with family, man. Like, oh my gosh, they'd all fall on a sword for you, and they still will today, even the ones that I really don't talk to a lot, because I have
Mhm.
60 some first cousins just on that side of the family. My mom was one of nine, and I have over 40 some cousins on that side. How do you
Mm.
stay in touch with people? The ones that want to be in a relationship with you still today.
True.
So
Very true.
long
Facebook.
blown out answer, Mark.
Mhm.
Sorry. I get pretty passionate about relationships and being connected with people and understanding their origin. And that's how it's made me, I believe, a great financial educator and planner.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's
How would
as somebody that knows the car business fairly well, being number one dealer, especially because weren't you saying it was kind of in between Calgary and Edmonton?
Camrose? Yeah, it's about an hour and a bit outside of Edmonton. So to Calgary, it's about 2 hours. It's not quite halfway.
Okay. Is it smaller than both of those cities, right?
Oh yeah, well Calgary is 1.7 million metro. We're 1.5 million metro. Camrose now the latest was 18,000 because it's a farming
18th,
community.
and it was the number
Yeah,
one dealer?
yeah. Oh, my dad. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
But
that's
when I was growing up, it had just gone over 10,000, and we became a city in our
wow.
country. In order to become a limited or incorporated metropolitan city, you have to be over 10,000 people. We applied. They have their own police force there, even at 18,000 people. Camrose Police Department, right? I'm serious. And such a small community. When I left in the 80s, there still wasn't a Walmart. Now there's everything there because the rural community around there is roughly around 200,000 people they support,
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
right? We're talking
Neighboring.
out, yeah, we're talking about out to a couple hours away though. So they're the closest Walmart. You got a Staples there. You got everything you need. Beautiful little community. But when I grew up though, where the mall is now, we used to go out and snare gophers and ride our bikes, jump, and stuff like that.
That's
So,
awesome.
right? But that's where I grew up, and it was just always about relationships. And it's sad though. It took me till my adulthood, in my 30s, to realize after I'm reading all these books, like where'd you get all your knowledge from? People would say, or where'd your origin start? It always went back to my dad.
Yeah.
12 years of age, you're coming to work. No, you don't get the summers off. You need to help, right? I give
Yeah.
you
And big
love, help. I give you love, shelter, and food. The rest is up to you. That's
yeah,
what he
you're
used to
on your
tell me.
own. Yeah, I was gonna say at Enterprise, we did same thing, very focused on customer service and greeting the customer. We train our employees all the time. If the phone rings, they came after the person that was in front of you, and always, the face-to-face relationships were always so critical. But the real question I have, Dwight, is there a Tim Hortons there?
Yeah, national treasure that's been bought and sold so many
I
times.
know.
Like it's
They're coming. They're
unbelievable.
coming here to Kansas City, actually.
Yeah, they've been in New York State for
Yeah.
30
Well, I
some
think yeah, in
years.
Buffalo and kind of the bordering states more. They were
Yeah,
in
yeah,
St.
yeah.
Louis for a little bit, but
But no, Tim Horton was a hockey player, right? NHL
yes,
hockey
yeah,
player, and he started it. He was smart, but yeah, he was dumb, right?
yeah.
It was his partnerships that helped him get it going. But it's been sold. Burger King owned it for a while. Who else owned it? And like I don't even.
I
And
thought
it's
do they not own it anymore? Okay.
no, it's back to a Canadian company owning it again.
Oh, good.
But then they moved their offices to the U.S. and now everybody's saying, "Well, you're not Canadian anymore." I don't care. I don't go and get a Tim Hortons double double. To be honest, I'm a Starbucks fan.
Oh,
Sorry for
okay.
all you Tim Horton fans that are snarling.
Yeah,
I like Starbucks, so there you go.
that's
Nice.
funny. So, and we didn't ask your hockey team, and then we can get back to true business.
Edmonton Oilers, what about him?
Okay.
We're the greatest hockey player of all time, played for our team. The current world considered number one player in the league is Connor McDavid. He's on our
Yeah.
team. Leon Draisaitl. So yes, I'm a season ticket holder. So
Oh, are you really? I went
yeah.
with my daughter. We ended up right before she went away to university. We ended up to a blue. We were living in St. Louis at the time, so we saw the Blues. The Blues and the Oilers play. God, it was probably 5 years ago now, but see McDavid in person was a treat.
Yeah, St. Louis is their rink. I stayed at their hotel that overlooks their rink. I never got a chance to go to a game there, but yeah, I've been to a few conferences in St. Louis, and they're very passionate about their hockey,
It's a
just
good
like
hockey
us.
town. Yeah,
Oh
surprisingly the
yeah.
most. Yeah,
At the end of the day, when the game's over, animosity should subside. It's a sport, it's a
yeah.
business, right? It's
Yep.
relationships. And yeah, I love
Does
the
Gretzky
questions
live
you
up
guys are
there?
asking. No, Gretzky moved to LA.
Oh,
He's,
that's right, with his wife. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
he's been there with Janice, and they have a bunch of kids. And no, he hasn't lived here forever. He
yeah,
was part of our team. We had him in operations for 5 years, but when the pandemic hit and his contract in 2021, he didn't renew because it was becoming too difficult to
Hmm.
come back and forth
Oh,
with the
right.
pandemic.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, he's still associated with our team in regards to the influence and stuff. I don't necessarily enjoy his politics side. I still appreciate him as a sports person. He was amazing.
Yeah.
Right? The only person that's ever beaten one of his major records is Ovechkin, which went over
Hmm.
his goal total here last season. But he's also played more games too. So six of one, half dozen of another. We're a generational city. We're a hockey town. You want to come to a hockey game and have your doors blown off, your socks blown off, come to Edmonton. We're considered one of the top places to come and watch a hockey game. Well, we have a world-renowned rink that we built back in and opened in 2016. Blow your doors, right? If either of you guys ever want to come up, I promise you, I'll give you a place to stay and I'll take you to a hockey game.
Okay.
Oh,
I
cool.
might
No,
take you up
no,
on.
I'm serious. No cost.
I,
I've
That's
offered it
awesome.
to so many people, and my publisher who lives in Pittsburgh, huge Pittsburgh fan, huge Crosby, huge Mario Lemieux. We started talking. He's in his third. Well, now he's just turned 40 something, and then I told him, I said, "Oh, I'm glad you love Canadians." What are you talking about? I said, Sidney Crosby's a Canadian. He's right. He's from Nova Scotia. Oh, do you know who Nate McKinnon is from Colorado? Canadian. Over 60% of the league is Canadian. What are you talking about? Oh, Mario Lemieux, way better than Gretzky. Perfect. Canadian. No, he wasn't.
we're gonna get you at
I-
the Olympics, so Dwight, just wait.
Good luck.
So not to digress, Dwight, but you reference, getting off the hamster wheel, living life on purpose. Outside of what the feel good about living life on purpose with purpose, do you measure it in some way? How you're doing?
How I'm doing personally?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do measure how I'm doing personally in regards to living on that hamster wheel. And it's called appreciation every single day. I have gratefulness and gratitude from the when I get up. When I got up today, and I had to get up early today, I took my son to the airport. He had to fly up northern Alberta. He works with a company that does downhole drilling and stuff. So I was up and driving him on the roads at 4:30 a.m. And how do I gauge, am I living on purpose? Am I living intently as my core values again? It always goes back to faith, family, and work. And if I get caught in something and I'm kind of struggling, I always say, what am I aware of? What happened when I woke
Hmm.
up? Oh,
Yeah.
maybe I forgot to have gratefulness. Maybe I woke up a couple minutes late and I forgot to be grateful. I woke up, forgot to be grateful that I have so much that so many other people can't have. And then I'm grateful starting my day that I get to do this.
Hmm.
I get to have my client call. So it's always dialing it into, am I literally being aware of where I'm at in my life, or am I just aware of what society's telling me I should be aware of
Hmm.
or that I should be stuck in? So I always gauge it on, how am I feeling? And if I'm
Yeah.
feeling having that character building moment, what am I doing about it? Am I analyzing it? If I can, I will shut everything down and I will go time myself out. And it may sound shocking. I've been on so many podcasts where I'm interviewed and they say, well, teach us some things. Because I have a lifestyle coaching business that developed out of my finance business. Everything I do with my clients became part of another part of my business
Hmm.
because it's worked. It's
Yeah.
a school of hard knocks, right? So a little bit longer answer than you need.
No, I love it.
Is this your guys' podcast?
Not
Thanks for
at
coming on,
all.
Dwight. We appreciate it.
Not at all.
Yeah, you get.
It ties in, this is the first time I've been on a podcast where honestly the two books could come together, your book and our book.
Like I
And
said, yeah.
yeah, very much so. And it's almost like it's seamless. And we really appreciate it, but the dialogue and the commonality. But yeah, helping other people. And that's the whole thing. Like when I first met Steve, we talked about it last time. Normally I'd be prospecting him. I mean, look at him. I mean, he's a nice guy and seems to be well groomed and successful. But he knew so much information that me being like, you know what, you should probably fire your financial advisor. Not everyone needs a financial advisor later in life, and some people definitely don't need a financial advisor when they're getting started. But there's so many young people, Dwight, as you know, that need the tools to get started, and they don't have the confidence to ask the questions because they feel like they're possibly going to ask a stupid question, which we know there's not a stupid question, but that's really the design of the book is to help complement what people are already doing and or get them started.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I suggested, I was reading through the transcript summaries and we talked about the fact of our books would tie beautifully together. And I think, honestly, we may not have mentioned in the last recording, but there could be some great collaborations between us three. Like, just throwing it out there, a
Yeah.
mastermind or open calls where we do it live, where we have people come on from both the US and Canada and ask questions. And we can create so much more hope and belief in people than we realize or want to give ourselves credit for. And it's simply like you said, Mark, asking good questions, right?
Yeah.
Ask questions. And at the first, those listening or watching, when I first started asking these questions to my clients in year one, year two, it got easier. The
Yeah.
difference is be willing to listen to what the people are saying then if you're going to ask the question. And if it makes you feel uncomfortable, it's not necessarily personal to you. You got to remove yourself from that
Mhm.
circumstance. And if you see body language change, don't be afraid to say, "Hey, Mark, hey, Steve, did I say something wrong?
Yeah.
Oh no, you triggered this," or "Oh yeah, you said this," and "Oh, that was not my intent. I'm
Mhm.
trying to get better at being a wordsmith. I'm honest with people,
Mhm.
not to say stuff because you can say something one way and people take it a different way. So I always work on communication, right? Am I perfect at it? Absolutely not. How do I get better? How do I gauge myself? It's the back to that awareness piece that you talked about, Mark. I'm super aware and twice a day minimum when I go to bed, when I get up. And then throughout the day, sometimes if I have those character building moments, that's why I never ever have a bad day. I'm going on to my eighth
Mhm.
year of not having a bad day because I work at it
Mhm.
because people deserve the best of me and I deserve the best of me.
Yeah. So basically, you're choosing not to have a bad day.
You got it.
Yep.
It's a choice. Yep.
Yep.
But it is a choice.
It
Yep.
is.
People say that's impossible. You cannot. Sorry, gentlemen. One of my grandkids was trying to FaceTime me. I'll
Oh, go
get
go
back to.
for it.
Yeah.
No
Bring
way.
him on.
Yeah, oh, you love him. His name's Memphis.
How old?
He's 3. He's my youngest.
Never
He
too
just
young.
Yeah, he just
Sorry.
turned 3. And anyway, I could go on about my family. He FaceTime. He'll all of a sudden get really upset at his mom, or he'll pick up a book that I bought him or a toy, and he's
Yeah.
got to talk to Papa. He's got to talk to his
Yeah.
Papa, right?
Papa
Is
will
So
there
solve it.
is there a
yeah,
significance with the name Memphis? Is there?
I don't know. I never
Okay.
asked my daughter when she said, "Dad, we're going to name if it's a girl this, we're going to name it," and then they found out what the sex was going to be, and they wouldn't tell me. We're not going
Yeah.
to tell you till the baby's born. We know that the sex is going to be okay. I love it. I think Memphis is a great name. You know what it could be though? I'd have to ask his dad. His dad is a huge country music fan, so
There you
wouldn't
go.
be surprised if that's why Memphis is the name, right? So, but yeah,
Elvis. Maybe it's
yeah.
Elvis.
I don't
Or
know.
they vacationed there 3.5 years ago. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, my
Plus
memories.
nine months.
We could go on and
My
on.
bad.
The memories I have with my grandma, the woman that had the 18 kids. We used to go to their house in Provost, which is along the
Hmm.
Saskatchewan Alberta border, and we'd go into their house and she'd pop in an 8 track, and this woman would go and start dancing with her grandkids and stuff, and she'd put on Elvis.
Ah,
And I became a huge Elvis fan. 8 tracks, for those listening, are like a real big version of a cassette tape. And if you don't know what a cassette tape is, I'm not going to bother.
Google both of them.
But yeah, so it is what it is. Um, we could have, again, a lot of collaboration, but we're running out of time. I want to dive into, because I never give it enough perspective, not because I didn't want to. We just ran out of time. Your connection to Will Ferrell and the book, and
yeah.
putting the forward in, and just the relationship you guys have developed with him. I never, ever, ever thought Will Ferrell would be somebody that would be connected that way. So I want the listeners and viewers to understand that. And as well, I'd like to understand more. So whoever wants to start, whoever wants to share, please tell me the connection and the origin of Will Ferrell with the book.
Well, I know somebody who knows Will Ferrell, and he's my co-author, Steve. So
Steve, you're the connector.
I
Steve's the
am the
connection
connector.
between
Yeah, he and
us
I
and Will
go
Ferrell.
back To our college days. So we went to school together and have remained friends to this day. And so I told him we were thinking about doing a book. Everybody knows Will as a actor and the different shows and things like that. But, he's a father, he's got three boys. And so it's something that he's talked to them about personal finance. And I started talking to him about some of the topics in the book and delayed gratification and how the kids aren't learning any of this stuff in school. And he's like, I'm on board. And I said, do you mind writing the foreword? And he was happy to assist with that. And actually our audiobook, he read his foreword he read, which is going to be great. But it was obviously very helpful for us in terms of the name recognition that he brings to it. We're also both heavily involved with Cancer for College, have been for a long period of time, started by another friend of ours from college who is a three-time cancer survivor, double amputee. And so wow. Part of our proceeds, we may have mentioned yesterday, but for those that didn't listen, or 2 days, whenever it was, that part of our proceeds go to Cancer for College as well. And so it's a passion area for me. Mark's been very gracious with the charity as well, but and Will's super involved as well. It's his main charity. So that's a little background on how he got involved. But as we like to say, the finance doesn't need to be so serious, and having Will, bring his angle to it sort of just makes it a little less serious. You can have fun with it as well.
Well,
and
it
his
humanizes him.
Maybe you read is typical Will.
He humanizes Will Ferrell because we see him in TV or on shows, movies, or whatever, and he's a card, right? He's comical, yeah. and I really wanted to hear that, so I appreciate it, and the ability for you to stay connected with him since school, amazing. That says volumes for you and volumes for him. That relationships are important.
Absolutely, yeah. It's we were a group of us that are pretty tight and just have remained tight over the years, and we get that question, has he changed a lot? He really hasn't changed since, I don't know how many years ago. I hate to age myself, but a lot of years ago, a few decades ago. I guess people can look up how old he is. That will put me kind of in the same ballpark.
That's okay. You're not old. You're seasoned.
That's right.
Yeah.
You're seasoned.
Slightly more seasoned than Mark.
Slightly more seasoned than me, maybe. I don't know. You know what? At the end of the day,
less salt.
You would less salt. Are
We're
you
too
more,
old to have salt.
Are you more a little spicy? Are you into spicy?
Spicy and less pepper. Steve's got more pepper than I have. So
see, yeah.
I get
and
that.
Both of you have more hair than me, so
that we know of.
That
we know of.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I
won't take my shirt off. I won't scare you.
Yeah, this is getting spicy.
But you guys, this is, oh man, we could go on and on and on. We should have weekly coffee appointments just to touch base. It's, so I appreciate you sharing that. And Mark, obviously, you're you're gracious and your gratefulness and wanting to support that charity as well.
Yep.
I do what I can up here. Unfortunately, in North America, the stats will blow people's minds. How many people die? The number one cause of death. And the reason being is I don't do just finance. I'm also licensed and I do life insurance, right? I do a lot. I do corporate, I do private, and I go to these underwriting. I haven't been to one in a little while here, but you go and you see the underwriting of what's going on in our world, and it is really sad. The only thing is, though, is this could be a total different podcast. I don't believe that there is not a cure. I believe that it has become so prevalent for money in business. You look at a company like Pfizer, for an example, 45 years, they've never created a cure, but they sure created a lot of shots and pills. And I'm not against vaccines. I'm not anti-vax. I'm not anti-medication. But if you can create all these things to help or put a Band-Aid on health, why can't you create a cure? I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I know a lot of people in the medical profession, including scientists. I honestly believe that what you're doing is very honorable. I support and do things here too, but come on, something has to change. But again, we can have another podcast about the fact of support. And if you're not giving back, why aren't you?
Yeah.
Like people like donate blood, for an example. In our country, we don't get paid like I know in the States, they pay people to donate blood. In Canada, it's voluntary, right? And I watch when I've donated blood, and I watch school bus loads of people coming during their lunches and their company giving them 2-hour lunch breaks so that they can still eat, but donate blood, right? And they're all volunteering to do it. Why? Because what happens if you're the person that needs that blood? And if you know lots about cancer survivors, you know how much blood they go through,
Mm.
platelets, the list goes on. It's unbelievable. So congratulations to both of you for doing that.
It's a great charity. It's my buddy that started it, Craig Pollard, was in he was able to he got cancer in high school, then again in college, and he made a promise with God that he was going to give back. His parents had insurance. He was able to go back to college because of the insurance that they had, and he had people that he met in treatment that unfortunately weren't surviving or weren't able to go back to college, and so the charity provides, if did apologize if I mentioned this earlier, need-based college scholarships
Yes,
to
you did
cancer
actually.
survivors and amputees. So it's amazing. 2,000 people, more than 2,000 have been helped. Give about $1 million a year in scholarships to these kids, and they're just amazing individuals that have been through so much that I know we're kind of discussing that.
So much different things that cancer, even one of my best friends died back in 2016. 5.5 months, he was gone, depending on what type of cancer it is. And we need to, the reason I bring this up is when we tie our lives to one another, we think, oh, I'll see Steve or Mark next week, next month. You don't know that. So
Yeah.
make sure you value every communication, every
So
conversation,
true.
like it's the last one. And it's not to be doom and gloom, it's so that you're present in
Right.
that relationship, in that conversation. So, that gentleman that started that organization you're talking about, Steve, man, he sounds like somebody I want on my podcast. I'll probably have a great conversation with him. So we might
He
have to
would be a
talk
great one.
about
He's
that.
actually got a book coming out next year. We should talk about that
Yeah,
offline.
would
Be
you
great.
please tie me to him?
Yep.
Well,
Yep.
obviously our time's run out for you. You needed to be off here. Um, Is there anything last that you guys would like to offer up before we shut the episode down? Like I could go on. I left my rest of my afternoon over, but I don't want to disrespect either of your times. Is there anything you'd like to both add? And again, we can have you on again in the future too.
Yeah. I've been wanting to ask you, has there been a myth about money that you had to debunk from your own thoughts to break through? Like something that has been ingrained in you that you realize that's just not true. Or
Well,
something that you've
uh,
seen the commonality.
the first myth that I can think of is something that I think that most people in North America, and I've heard it from many Europeans as well as people in Australia and other people, is, a penny saved is a penny earned. You cannot save yourself rich. And what do I mean by that? Because we both talk about you got to save and then spend on the difference. There's people that live such terrible lives. They want to have that asset for their loved ones, that they live a terrible life because they're saving everything, but they're never realizing that you can still save and live, right? You can have goals, you can save, you can still have that vacation, you can still have that, maybe
Yep.
that cabin, maybe you can have that nicer vehicle, right? The adage that, because I grew up with that, my dad would always say, save, save, save. You can save, but you can't just save yourself rich. If you're at a job and you're just saving money, you're not going to be wealthy. You might be comfortable in retirement, but if you want to be rich, you need to come up with, you have to pull your bootstraps up. You need to figure out what is your passion, and then have somebody like me or maybe Mark or Steve that sits down, and I have these tough conversations. I've had people not start up businesses because when they're done with me, right? Better to stay at a job because nobody's ever challenged them. And there's people that say, "Well, if I save, save, save," and I reach people. I sat with people here recently in their 70s, they hardly had anything in their whole life. They never did anything. They didn't have any real journeys. They didn't have any real experiences because they were wanting to save for their family, to leave something to them. That was what they thought legacy was. Nobody challenged them that you can't save yourself into wealth for your children, even. You need to live for your life. Now, maybe somebody can help you plan so you can save some. So, oh, maybe you need to look at some permanent insurance. There's your estate plan. Maybe that's your legacy, and you can still, and then you can spend all your money into your death,
Yeah.
right? So I don't know if that's too much of an answer or not what
Yeah,
you were
I
looking
tell you
for.
what, Dwight, the one thing that we both share together, I'm sure, is life insurance makes you a believer. I know it did for me when I was 23 years old and I delivered my first death claim.
Oh,
That was pretty impactful.
it wakes you up. And
Yep.
then being with the grieving family. And if
Yep.
you have that relationship, they want you to be part of their grieving. And it can be washed over you and it's overwhelming. But the gratefulness that I
Yeah.
felt every time somebody's had to, you know, tap into that, unfortunately, even if it's critical illness or long-term disability, whatever, I feel gratefulness and gladness because I put myself out there, and I
Yep.
give them credit. They put themselves out there. And
Yep.
we've done something now that generation can grieve without financial distress.
Yeah. And that's definitely a big chapter in our book is
That's
protecting
awesome.
yourself. Life insurance, we look at disability, what the appropriate amounts could possibly be for your own situation. It's a foundation. It's a complete foundation. It's amazing that
It's the number one foundation of
yeah,
financial planning. Number
and
one is.
most of us would not leave our house if it wasn't insured. But some for most young people, their biggest financial asset is their ability to earn income, as you know.
Yeah.
That's gone when they're not in the picture.
I apologize. I do have to run, but you guys keep
That's fine.
going. There's great conversation here.
We'll talk for a few more minutes and
The only thing
record
I was going to
and
say
you
for
can
folks that
exit.
maybe didn't get a chance to hear it in the last podcast is if they want more information,
Yeah,
simpleroadbook.com is our website. It has videos on there. It has a link to buy a book. You can also get it at Amazon or Barnes and your favorite retailer, Walmart, what have you. But
YouTube
obviously,
as well, right? You have a
it
YouTube
goes.
channel.
Yeah, we have a YouTube channel, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So we'd love to have
Yeah.
people follow us. Mark and I post once a week usually, and it's some financial tip that's super bite sized. And so we're getting more and more people, especially in today's era, that are like, I just want information really quickly. And so it's usually like a 60-second video. So we'd love to have people follow us if they've got ideas on how to spread this message
Message,
that we're
yeah.
trying to get to
Oh, I'm gonna
Gen
help.
Z. We'd
I'm
love to
gonna
have,
help,
as many
guaranteed.
people as possible kind of, jump on our team here. But thanks again for having us on, and I will do that introduction, and I'm sure we'll be in touch soon.
You bet. You take care. And Mark, if you want to stay on for a few minutes, we'll
Thanks,
talk a
Dwight.
little bit longer.
so as a financial advisor in the time when I was 23 years old and delivering that death claim, and I had two situations early in my career. One, I realized there wasn't enough. And what did the original agent do or recommend? And what was the premise? But then when you deliver that sweet spot where you're providing that financial security, because it's interesting, Dwight, I was in my 30s and a funeral director in our hometown who'd given funerals for almost 40 years, him and his wife, and he lost his wife to cancer. And he told me something pretty impactful 6 months after she died that nothing that he has done in his career prepared him for the loss of his wife. That's amazing. You never know how you're going to take death. And this is coming from a
Oh,
funeral director
absolutely.
who consoled thousands of families and they weren't ready. So I always tell it to people that you just don't know if you're going to be able to go back to work. You don't know.
Do you know I do that a lot with young people? People will say, well, I've had so many people disparage, when I've done talks or I talk about the fact, why would young people need life insurance, right? I'm not even talking just about child insurance.
Right.
I think that's valuable. My kids have child insurance. I put them on them years ago when they were kids. But I look at the fact of when my son turned 18,
Hmm.
we sat down and he wanted, Dad, help me with some of this stuff. Okay, let's budget. let's go do this and this and that. But the number one foundation is we need life insurance on you. Why? I said, do you think that if you passed away tomorrow, that it might be a financial burden on me? I don't know. But what happens if I'm at that valley in my life where I'm in the valley of despair and something financial's come up and I can't afford your funeral and it puts a
Mhm.
financial crisis on me or on family members? What happens if one of your sisters, who you're really close to, can't work because the grief overwashes her, like the overwhelming? What happens if she can't work? Could maybe that policy give her a little bit of time to grieve and to move on and not face financial strife? And that's exactly the conversation I had with him. He
Mhm.
says, Dad, I never thought about that. I heard you talking about it, but I never thought about how to. I've heard you talk about it with other people, but it didn't really affect me.
Mhm.
But now it does. Yeah. One of my four, he's one of five, four sisters, older sisters. He says, yeah, he says, maybe it can make a difference. And he says, who do I make as a beneficiary?
Mhm.
Do I put them all down? I says, well, how do you want to do it? Well, can I just put you down? And I trust in the fact that you'll help who needs help. So you don't care if it's equal? He says, no, if none of them need help, keep it, Dad. Pay for the funeral and maybe that'll help you with your retirement. I was just like, wow,
Yeah. Wow.
18. And
Awesome.
now he's 26.
That's a win.
Right.
That's a good
That
win.
is, and the reason I tell you that story, Mark, is so many people forget to talk to young people about the importance of insurance and the financial stress it can put.
Yep.
And I'll tell them real life examples. I didn't have to with my son. I had a client that I got after the fact, and they're telling me of the horror stories of burying somebody in their family, and they had to max out all their credit cards
Mm.
and borrow money just to have a celebration. And I
Mm.
said, well, why did you, if it was that bad, why didn't you do it? Because society's expectations, family expectations of what were supposed to do. And then I talked to them about the fact of my 4-year-old granddaughter that passed away in 2017.
Mm.
And my daughter had no money to pay for it back, had health concerns from when she was really little. So the best I had on her was a small little whole life policy that I put on when she was really little to cover funeral costs for me. And I still own it. It's nothing major. It's only $25,000, but that she's 39 years old, right? So at the end of the day, it's still valid. It's still funding itself. It's a nice little, if something happens, I
Yep.
can help with her significant other in that. But I look back at the fact and say to myself, wow, like we should be putting insurance on people right from here in Canada. You can't do it till they're 14 days old.
Mhm.
I said, even if we could get through to people, first and foremost, they want to protect their significant other, right, for insurance. But if you could do it so that you can budget, that you can put the numbers in, and we could do it so that your kids are covered too,
Mhm.
why would I want to cover my kids? Oh, medical insurability. I don't know. In the US, it used to be the same. In Canada, it's medical insurability.
Right.
Even if it's a term policy, you can convert it, and there's
Yep.
no medical insurability. I just did it for a young man, major health concerns, child rider, converted it five
Mhm.
times the value, $150,000 policy that it may not seem like a lot, but it's better than zero,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And the parents were so ecstatically happy. We couldn't figure out why you wanted this child rider, and we remember you talked about the fact it could help pay for a funeral and stuff like that. So we agreed to it at $14 a month, right? It covered their kids. Well, their one child ended up, we exercised the rider. He had till he was 25 years of age. We did it last year. Now he's 26,
Mhm.
right?
Awesome. Awesome.
So stories like that we need to
Yep.
share.
Absolutely. I appreciate you very much, Dwight, what you're doing.
You too. So I don't want to keep you too much longer. What else would you like to share? Stage is yours.
I love the fact that the book speaks to a lot of different people in different situations. So, and it all comes back down to find, what is your goal towards financial freedom? And I think most people that are listening need to ask themselves, what is my goal of financial freedom and what does it look like? I mean, visualize it and then get a game plan to get there. And a lot of people don't spend enough time just to sit back and think turn off the phone, turn off the TV, turn off all the static and the noise, and just think about that and visualize yourself. So if you're 50, what would your 40-year-old tell you that they would like to be when you're at your age right now, 50? Well, you can't go back in time, but if you could speak to your 60-year-old self, and that 60-year-old could tell you what you need to be doing now to get to where you want to be when you're 60, you need to listen to that and do some visualization, do some planning. And I believe everyone can tune up their financial plan or at least create one if you don't have one. And that's something that the book, and I know your book would do the same thing on getting people on the right course. And don't be intimidated by the process.
Oh, what a great message. It is true. I've always had people ask me, even before podcasting, general questions in a workshop that I'd be running and stuff, like what would you tell your 19, 18-year-old
Yeah.
old self? But I liked how you dialed that. If you're 60, what would 50, at 50, 40, like you're so right. When I
Yeah.
think now what would I have been like in my early 50s as opposed to my late 50s, I think to myself, oh, wow, my
Yeah.
brain just went, ooh, you could have done
Yeah.
that. Yeah, so
Because
I
I'm
appreciate that.
I'm 50 years old right now, and I will tell you that when I'm 65, how much money would I give to be my age now?
Oh, wow. That is really a great
And I've
question.
already hit I've already hit the jackpot. I'm 50. So live it.
Oh, live the journey. I think we
Yep.
we may have talked about that in the first recording. So many people, so many successful people that I know, they can't tell me the journey that they've
Yeah.
been on to get where they're at. They missed events. They missed this. They missed that. They had no core values. Their only core value was work and legacy because nobody had taught them there was more,
Hmm. Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
So I appreciate you being on. I won't keep you any longer. We're going to wrap up this second amazing episode, and I hope we stay in touch, brother. It's like I
We
really
will.
do.
100%.
I think there's going to be a lot of value for us to collaborate, work together, jump on calls, right? Different perspective from one country to another, which I so appreciate. So, as we wrap up today's episode, I want to leave you with something, the same thing I left in our last episode. I've learned through hosting this podcast and living my own journey. Living on purpose is not a destination, it is a daily decision. Guests like Steve and Mark remind us that financial freedom is not about perfection. I'll say that again. It's not about perfection, but about consistency and mindset. And then I will add this, it's about taking action. Taking action, even if you just reach out to Mark, Steve, grab their book, grab my book. They both have value. They can maybe give you your little seed inside that ember, give it a little
Yeah.
bit of growth, right? Wouldn't you agree, Mark?
Absolutely.
So, wherever you are right now, whether you're stuck, searching, or soaring, remember you have the power to live your life on purpose and not by accident. Until next time, remember it's never too late to give a heck.
Thank you for taking time out of your day and listening to Give a Heck. If you find value, I'd appreciate you sharing with your friends and family so they too can learn how to live life on purpose, not by accident. So you do not miss the next episode, please subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and please also post a review. I look forward to reading your comments. This has been Dwight Heck. If you want to check out other podcast episodes or today's show notes, please check out my website, giveaheck.com. And until next time, together let us all strive to give a heck.